Hello everyone, my name is Leslie Carnejo and I will be presenting on women in psychology, and I will be focusing on Leta Hollingworth and Martha Bernal. Here's a picture of Hollingworth, and she lived from May 25th, 1886 to November 27th, 1939. Leta Hollingworth was born in Nebraska, and she would often write about how loving her mother was despite having an absent father. Unfortunately, her mother passed away during the birth of her youngest sibling. Her father then left her and her siblings with her grandparents until she was about 12 years old. After that, they then moved back with their father, who was abusive and an alcoholic. She often wrote about her father's anger towards her due to him always wanting a son. With one of her coping skills, she was able to write beautiful poems, and when she was 14, she had her poem published in the newspaper. Later, she then went to Valentine High School and went to the University of Nebraska, where she studied literature and writing, and that's where she found her passion in teaching and began her career. Here's a picture of the University of Nebraska. At the University of Nebraska, she met Harry Hollingworth, where they got married in 1909, and then they moved to New York. She wanted to continue her career, but was denied due to the laws in New York for married women. Fortunately, they had saved enough money where she could continue her interest in gifted children and gender differences. Her work with gifted children now affects the positive impacts that the program for gifted children has today. So I will be talking about her work in psychology regarding gifted children and their education. She used the Stanford-Binet intelligence scale as a way to help bright students rather than the way it was intended for. It was originally used to help identify children who were below the average IQ. She felt that not challenging gifted children negatively affected them because they would then become bored, have bad relationships with their teachers and adults, and could even affect their relationship with their classmates. She wanted to focus on how children's needs could affect the way they excel as students. She did not entirely believe that intelligence depended on genetics, but rather it can be increased due to the environment. Hollingworth was happy that the Teachers College gave her an opportunity to work with the Spire School, where she was asked to test all the students' IQ levels. After doing so, she found that the sample that she gathered was not generalizable and went to other neighboring schools that represented other nationalities, such as African Americans, Chinese, Japanese, Mexican, and West Indian students. The classes she made were separated based on their IQ scores, and they were flexible with the children's learning pace. She wanted to make sure that the learning environment was inclusive and that teachers had the ability to alter the curriculum to best fit their classes. As a result of her time at the Spire School, she concluded that education can be optimized to best fit students' educational needs to help them become gifted adults. This often opposed many ideas of other educational theorists because they wanted a strict curriculum for all students, but she felt that it was best to adapt the learning experience for the children to better their educational career. Now I will be talking about Martha E. Bernal, and she lived from April 13, 1931 to September 28, 2001. Martha Bernal was born in San Antonio, Texas, and then was raised in El Paso. Both of her parents are Mexican, and she struggled a lot with her father's support because she wanted a higher education, and he believed that college education was not for women and she should focus on becoming a mother and finding a husband. Throughout her childhood, she faced a lot of racism and discrimination. Martha Bernal felt a lot of shame about her cultural identity because she was not allowed to speak Spanish prior to going to college in the school setting. A lot of students were segregated between those who spoke English and those who spoke Spanish. As a student, she struggled a lot with being a Latina and also being a lesbian. She went to the University of Texas in 1952 for a bachelor's in psychology. She then went to get her master's in 1955. In 1962, she became the first Latina to get a PhD in psychology in the United States, and that's where she got her PhD from Indiana University. She began to focus on children with conduct disorders and then also turned to focus on issues that minorities face in psychology. Now I will be talking about Martha Bernal's psychological work in behavioral psychology. At the time, many theorists believed that it was a fixed state and behavioral issues could not be improved. She wanted to do her own research in learned behavior with conduct disorders in children. One of her popular studies was on modification of brat behaviors. She focused on working with the mothers and kids who were labeled as brats. She then focused on the reinforcement of social behaviors for both the child and the mother that could improve the patient's behaviors through sessions that were recorded to show the mother where errors occurred and what she can do to reshape the child's behavioral problems. She found that after 25 weeks, behavioral problems decreased dramatically at home and in social settings. With this, she concluded that feedback and reshaping parenting skills can improve behavioral issues. She then furthered her studies by showing that parent and child-centered counseling have significant benefits. Now I would like to go into the comparison between Leta Hollingworth and Martha Bernal. Both individuals overcame the barriers of being women in male-dominated fields. They are now widely known for their contributions to society and sociology. They both had to face rejection from their employers and educational institutions just for being female. They both have contributed greatly to child psychology, and their main goal was to strive for better resources and to help children in need. They understood how behavior and intelligence can be improved due to environmental and social factors. They were also strong self-advocates and stood up for themselves despite the constant negative feedback and lack of acceptance in their early career. They also used their individual differences and identities as a way to improve psychology. As we have discussed earlier in the semester, Hollingworth had used stereotypes that women face to challenge the idea that women were inferior to men and found that there were no gender differences through her variability hypothesis research. Martha Bernal used her challenges as being a minority in a mainly white dominated field and wanted to expand social knowledge and acceptance of other minority groups, especially in the field of psychology. And now I'd like to conclude my presentation with discussing why I decided to pick Leta Hollingworth and Martha Bernal. I thought that they were both exceptional women and have helped the movement of encouraging women to enter the fields of psychology and other fields as a whole. I enjoyed reading on how they went against traditional theories and applied their experiences to their own work. I wanted to focus on Martha Bernal and wanted to connect her to large issues that still happen today. Her story highlights intersecting issues that many minority women have and that can also be overlapped with issues that queer people face as well. She had to face many aspects of discrimination due to her race, gender, and sexuality. Psychology tends to focus on Hollingworth, but I want to bring to light another psychologist that is not always widely recognized, and I want to use her as a figure to inspire people who have similar identities to her. And now we have part 1 of my references, and now we have the second part. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you everyone for listening, and I hope this helped you expand your knowledge on Leta Hollingworth and Martha Bernal. And let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.